Live TV Talk on your digital device, on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question, our attorneys have the answer. So let's talk law with attorney Daryl O'Neill on the SVP TV network.
Welcome to Talking Law with Daryl O'Neill. I'm your host. I got my main man Jerome with me.
What's up, Daryl?
And another day in the neighborhood.
You all casual tonight,
man.
huh?
Hey, man.
Semi-casual.
Hey, man, cut the air off, man.
Right.
It's hot as a firecracker outside, boy.
What you talking about? But today is the last one, they say, yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, welcome to the show today. We actually left off last week where we said that we were going to talk about FMLA a little bit this show.
That's
so
right.
that's going to be a major topic. It's got a lot of real pitfalls that people don't understand, and they usually mess this up. So we're going to try to help you out on this.
Right, okay.
So we got to, if you want to call in and have a question, it don't have to be about FMLA. It can be about anything. You can call in. We're going to be up on. You can use, if you got Roku, Fire Stick, Amazon, Apple TV, the SVP TV network app, or Facebook Live, or YouTube Live.
Wow.
You can do any of those things, and you can call in, and we'll answer your questions right on the air.
So it's no excuse for them not to reach out and touch somebody.
Man, it is no excuse for not you.
Tonight, for sure.
Well, I'm always weirded out, Jerome, and I'm going to give her a shout out.
Right.
I'm always weirded out, man. We do a show for the public for free.
Yeah.
We don't charge you can ask any question.
That's right.
And if we don't know the answer, because nobody knows all the answers.
That's right.
We will answer the best we can. Put that answer. Put a pin in that question. Research it for free.
Yes.
And come back to the show, the next show, and then give you that answer.
That's exactly right.
So you can't work no lawyer harder than you can work us for free.
Not beat it.
For free.
Absolutely. Because when you come to the office,
Man.
that's a whole different ballgame. In fact, your folk won't even let you come.
Man, you call my office, they be like, you got to schedule an appointment.
Yes.
You can't even get through the gate. Man,
Yes.
I got gatekeepers.
Absolutely.
So right now, there are no gatekeepers here.
Right.
So anyway, give our shout outs to California. My son's still out there hanging out there.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Little Rock, Arkansas. Shout outs to West Memphis, Arkansas. Shout out to Memphis, Shelby County, Tennessee. Shout out to Mississippi. And Mom, shout out to the great state of Missouri.
All right.
Jerome, FMLA, man, it's a statute that was put in place to be beneficial that has been misunderstood for a number of years.
I was wondering there, how old is it now? It's only about, it's sort of a young statute now, isn't it?
Well,
Within
90s?
10 years or so?
No,
More than that? Over
90s.
30 years it's
Yeah,
been in place?
It's 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 90s. So, but FMLA stands for the Family Medical Leave Act. And what happens is, it says that if you have a medical matter, your family member has a medical matter, that can be documented by a healthcare professional, then your employer must allow you off for 12 weeks, whether it be paid, unpaid leave without any penalty to you.
Wow. And they have to hold your spot somehow.
And they have to hold your spot
Yes.
for that 12 weeks.
Yes.
Now, let me give you a little intro about the Family Medical Leave Act.
Okay.
The Family Medical Leave Act, really when it came about, because if you notice, this is 12 weeks.
Okay.
So how it came about is they were really trying to put together something to help pregnant women.
I figured that.
Yeah.
And
so that was the act that they were trying to put out. Unfortunately, the legislators wouldn't go for an act that was just only for women. So in order to gain or gather or garnish more votes, what they decided to do was to expand it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said the act will apply to any family member that has a medical matter that a doctor says you need to be off.
Well, that really makes sense.
It does.
Because of the 14th Amendment,
Yeah.
equal protection under the law,
Right.
it would have been a nightmare because the lawsuits would have been flying everywhere, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And because typically you're not going to have a husband and wife working at the same job,
Right.
typically. And the thing is 12 weeks. So if the wife gets 12 weeks at her job, the husband can get 12 weeks at his job.
All right.
You know, and then that way they together would have 24 weeks to care for their newborn baby.
Right.
The way the act works is you can take it in a number of things. You can take all 12 weeks all at one time.
Okay.
The nice thing about it is you can do intermittent.
Okay.
And intermittent is basically if you need to take a day, you need to take an hour, you need to take a week, you need to take a month. It allows you to take it as you need it. So as long as your caregiver, your healthcare provider says that you need to be off for a medical condition, and it's, for instance, you may have allergies, which may qualify, and your doctor says, well, this happens once a week or once every month or once every all, and then it says, well, we want her to have FMLA for her allergies. And so that's how you get it.
Right,
So
okay.
whenever you have an allergy flare-up, you don't have to call in and go to the doctor. You can just call in and say, hey, look, I have my allergies just acting up. It's covered under your 12 weeks under the FMLA. And you're just using a day here and a day there.
Wow.
Now, Jerome, where people really screw this thing up is they think you can stack it.
Oh.
So I have a medical issue, I get 12 weeks. My mother has a medical issue, she gets 12 weeks. My husband has a medical issue, I get 12 weeks. I could get 12 weeks for each one of those individuals.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So if I needed FMLA to care for my mother, that's 12 weeks. If I needed FMLA to care for myself, that's 12 weeks. If I needed FMLA to care for my spouse, that's 12 weeks. Right. Well, some people think that means they can get 36 weeks. There is no stacking.
No.
It's 12 weeks, period.
Total. And is this annually?
It is annually.
Yeah, annually, yeah.
Yeah. And not only is it annually, you cannot even qualify for FMLA unless you worked on a job for at least a year.
Okay.
So the statute does that. And then what ends up happening is, it only protects your job for that 12-week period.
Okay.
If you 12 weeks in one day.
In one day, I was going to ask you.
Man, they can fire you bigger than them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because look, an employer has to run their business.
No question.
I can't keep a spot open indefinitely. So 12 weeks is reasonable. 12 weeks in one day is not.
Right.
Some organizations, governmental entities, the city of Memphis, Shelby County, I think maybe even the school system, they have where you can take long-term or long-term disability, and you can take a leave of absence. Now that's not covered under FMLA.
That's totally separate.
That is totally separate.
Okay. So can you stack that? Can you do FLMA and then possibly do short-term disability or long-term disability?
I don't know. I think the answer to that question really depends on the agency.
It also depends on probably the magnitude of whatever the issue is that you're dealing with, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, look, some of these entities, so for hypothetically, if you work for an entity for 12 or 15 years, and they could care less whether or not you need FMLA or whatever.
Right.
If you were a viable whatever, and you need some time off to take care of your medical scenario, those entities will normally work with you.
No question.
They could care less about FMLA.
Right.
And they will protect your job, and they don't need anyone to tell them to do that. They will do that because in their eyes you're a valuable source.
That's
and they want to keep that. But the FMLA was put in place to protect two people. It was put in place to protect, number one, the ignorant employer that just is going to do whatever they want to do. Yeah. I know, Jerome, I was getting on.
I saw you searching, and struggling, trying to find a calmer word. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
There was no other one. Yeah.
Yeah, but on top of that, and I want to go the other way,
Okay.
it also was put in place to protect the ignorant employee.
Employee. Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is you have opportunists that will manipulate the scenario or the system to the detriment of the employer.
Right.
And so what happens is I will only have to put up with your nonsense for 12 weeks, and you as the employer, and as the employee, you have to put up with my nonsense for 12 weeks.
Because under ordinary circumstances, it's at will employment.
Is at will employment.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I think they could use some of those at will to get around it, but FMLA is a really robust statute.
Okay.
I mean, it does FMLA, it does FMLA retaliation, it does FMLA interference.
Wow.
It does FMLA discrimination. So the statute is a really robust statute when it's acting right.
Okay.
But it also falls to the same pitfalls as the Title VII statute. For instance, you know, if the employer had a good faith belief, if the employer, they had a non-discriminatory reason for its conduct. I mean, so it has some landmines that the employer could use to their advantage, you know.
Now, this also too, like a number of employees based. You have to have at least 5, 6, 7, 8 employees. You know, like because unemployment. No, I'm sorry, I don't mean unemployment.
Workers' comp.
Workers' comp. I
Yeah.
mean, workers' comp requires that you have at least a certain amount of employees before it's viable for you.
Yeah.
So that's not the case with FMLA.
I would assume that it is. I don't remember the number offhand,
Okay.
but all of those federal statutes
require
a number
a minimum
of
amount
a minimum amount of employees.
Okay.
The state workers' comp is a state statute,
Right.
and it's governed by most state agencies. And most state agencies, Tennessee, I think it's 5 employees.
Yes, I think
you got to
that's
have
correct.
5 or more employees
Right.
to qualify for, to be required to have workers' comp. And I think for Title VII, you have to have 15 or more employees
Okay.
to be, you know, to be responsible under that statute.
Right, right.
Then so some of those, so I would assume FMLA has some same number like that.
yeah.
I just don't remember it off the top of my head.
Okay.
But it allows you, Jerome, really, what's great, man, it allows you the ability to double hit. And what I mean by that is FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, is a statute all by itself.
Okay.
Now, I told you can't stack time. You can stack scenarios. Okay.
Got you.
And this is where the employee gets to be savvy. I'm off for 12 weeks because of whatever my medical condition is.
Right.
I come back week number 11, you know, right before my 12 weeks expire. And when you come back, you can't leave immediately. You got to stay working another year for a new 12 weeks to come.
Right.
So I come back. My medical condition hasn't changed. I come back. Now what I can do is I can stack statutes. I can say, hey, I have a disability
Okay.
and I need to request for a reasonable accommodation.
Okay. Right. I was asking about that too. Yeah.
So now
Right.
I've changed my scenario
Right.
because I've had 12 weeks to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And if I'm going to be able to come back, and if I can come back, can I come back? Is there a circumstance or or scenario that allows me to come back?
Okay.
So you come back, you say, I'm back, but I need a reasonable accommodation. You hear that, Jerome? Not accommodation.
Right.
A reasonable accommodation.
Right. Right.
Because what ends up happening is people always come back and say, I need accommodation. And, you know, I'm not trying to be flippant, but it's a stupid accommodation.
Wow.
For instance, you know, you say, I need accommodation. I just need to be able to come in when I want to come in.
Oh.
That's not reasonable.
No.
Come in and say accommodation. It's a 2-story building. It has a ramp on it. you work on the first floor, or they've decided they're going to let you work on the first floor, so they have a ramp that allows you to come in. You say, well, I don't want to stay on the first floor. I want to go to the second floor.
And so build another ramp.
No, not build a ramp. Build an
Elevator so I can.
So put an elevator in so
Right.
I can get up to the second floor.
Okay.
That's not reasonable.
That's unreasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is what's reasonable. Make another shift for me. I work. The company is only open from the 9 to 5, and I need to come in at 6. So I need you to change to make another shift and make it 6 to 12.
6 to 12,
Yeah.
right?
Or 4 to 12 or something like that.
Because I need to sleep in the daytime.
Yeah, I have narcolepsy.
No, that's the same thing I was thinking. Right.
So, those things are not reasonable.
Well, not necessarily.
I don't have a second shift. I'm not going to make a second shift specifically for you.
But I mean, it could be argued that it would not be too burdensome to do it. I think that's also a component. How burdensome is even the unreasonable accommodation. Is it burdensome? Do you have to have extra security guards, utility? I mean, do you have to have burn the lights?
Yeah.
It could just be that I'm here and I work alone, and all I have to do is just have a permission to enter the building at night.
Yeah.
So that's. I mean, it's not burdensome.
Well, and that's the question.
Yeah.
Really, the question. I mean, I've had cases where people who have had chemical reactions.
Yeah. Right.
But the employer. Normally when I've had those chemical type cases, the people have worked for the government. Mm-hmm. And the government normally has telework.
Exactly.
So they've already have a system in place for telework, so it's not a big deal.
And and there are...
I don't have telework, and now you're saying I need to, I can't do that.
But there, that's one of the issues now. And you said that when we first started, this FMLA would probably bleed over into a lot of other areas, because now we're having all of these issues where people do not want to return back to the office, but they want to stay. They want to stay home and work. So how would that work? So maybe.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, so if I put you at home simply because I didn't have a plan, because that's why a lot of people were working from home.
Right.
Most companies didn't have a plan to deal with this 6 feet. Mask, the COVID.
Exactly.
They didn't have a plan for that. Most companies have now since developed a plan. And some decided, it's cheaper to just let you stay at home.
That's right.
Because I don't have to have an overhead. Right. And some companies have I think it's ServiceMaster. When COVID came out, they owned that building.
They completely shut that whole building.
They left that building.
That's right.
And everybody's at home.
Right.
Because they found out, look, I got people in New York, and, I can do everything by Zoom, I can do everything by teleconference and all.
And we use Microsoft Teams a lot in the bankruptcy world.
Yeah. And the federal court, that's what they're using.
Okay.
The federal court itself is using Teams.
Okay.
That's all government. The Army uses Teams.
Is that right?
Yeah. Teams is it's an interesting platform. It's no different than Zoom. It's
It's probably more protected, isn't it? Because that was one of the issues about the security of the system.
That's why they have Teams.
Right.
Because Zoom didn't have the protections that the federal government thought they needed. So they have the Teams application, and shucks. I mean, when I used to have a military Teams account. I don't have it any longer. Okay. Because you have to use your CAT card to get in. Okay. And then it was a secured net. It was secured, and I had to let you in.
Wow. Yeah.
All this other stuff. But then Teams also works with, the way the military was setting it up. The Teams was working with the email. Teams was working with the Microsoft platform. It's the whole. They had the whole Microsoft platform.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I mean, they developed that platform
Gotcha.
for the governmental entities and stuff like that. So,
Gotcha. Yeah.
But if you're a private company, you can't afford that.
Well, it's not prohibitive.
It may not be.
Yeah, it's not prohibitive because, again, all you need is a Microsoft suite, isn't it?
Well, no. See, what ends up happening is, okay, for instance, I can talk to you from my office from my cell phone.
Okay.
Okay. And my whole entire office is on my phone.
You told me that several times.
So,
yeah.
but the problem is that, I can't interact with my staff members
Okay.
when that's happening. I can't transfer calls to anyone else that's not where I'm at.
That's right. I got you.
You know, if I'm in the software,
Yeah.
it allows me to pretend like I'm in the office,
Right.
but it doesn't allow me to engage with other members.
Gotcha.
So the problem with that is this is a beneficial app, but it's a prohibitive app for my staff.
I got you.
So it wouldn't work.
Right.
You know, I mean, we use it when we have weather days and things of that nature. You know, we answer calls and send, respond to calls,
That's good.
emails, and things
That's
of that
good.
nature. Because my emails are that way, I can respond anywhere.
That's good.
But I can't engage my staff.
Gotcha.
And my staff can't engage me. I can't transfer a call. Like, say, if somebody wanted to speak to Misty,
So you basically shut down.
I'm
then.
shut down.
Right.
Yeah. And then I would have to run
Right.
all
over the place.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
I don't know. Then I have to set up apps and software in people's houses and all. And that's what's what the government did.
Right.
I mean, they got computers, they got programs on the computer. When I was in the Army, I had an Army laptop, and we VPN'd. So we would actually VPN.
Which is voice over internet, isn't it?
Yeah. So this VPN is a network.
Okay.
So it's a virtual. I can't remember the P. Give me that P, Angel. I know you know it. VPN. What's the P? It's virtual something network.
Okay.
Yeah, I
phone,
can't.
virtual phone network.
Nah, it's not because you can't.
Because you can talk. Or
Nah, it's not. It's normally where it looks like me and you. I can look at your computer. You can look at my computer. It's like we're all in the office
I see.
together.
Yeah, I got you.
There's no real telephone
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's voice over something.
No,
that's totally different.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
Virtual private network. So
Okay.
that's what VPN is.
Okay.
So that means that if you're not logged into that network,
You're not
in.
having access
right.
to it.
And then
right.
nobody that's outside of that network can't see.
Right.
Like, that's how my office network is.
Okay.
If I'm in the office, you can't see my office from outside of the office because it's on its own network.
Gotcha.
So you
Okay.
have to log into that network
Gotcha.
to get in.
Okay.
But my cloud is not on that network. It's a cloud.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are some of the
Up there by Uranus or somewhere, huh? Mars, Venus somewhere. Huh?
No, it's actually in my office. It just travels over the internet.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
So that's an intranet system instead of internet, then. Right?
Well, it is intranet, but it's internet also.
Okay,
Because
gotcha.
I can access it from outside.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. And I can access it internally, and I can access it outside. But it has some prohibitions accessing it outside. It only allows
because
you
then it's available for somebody to security can tap into it if it's in the cloud, and it's possibly that.
Well, and that's the reason why, because they have iClouds, they have all these different virtual clouds that you
Right.
can get into, but OneCloud and all that. But those people own it's their cloud.
Okay.
They're allowing you to access their cloud.
I got you.
So it's just a storage system of theirs
Gotcha.
that they have everything.
Yeah.
So instead of me using their storage system, I develop my own cloud.
I got you.
And then I have my own storage system.
Did Tony do that for you?
Tony did do that.
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
Tony does all my stuff, man. Tony got me set up. But, so that's how you can travel
Okay.
those different statutes. But you got to be careful because you don't get any additional protection by, implicating the Americans with Disability Act.
Okay.
It doesn't allow you to take off. Because now once you take off, I can fire you. Because your time off for that period of time
has expired.
It's exhausted.
Okay.
Now if you still have sick leave,
Well.
I guess you can continue to take it, but I don't have to help you.
So most of the litigation is being prompted by somebody abusing the system, are really not understanding what they can and cannot do, and the employer takes some action that turns out to be wrong based on the fact that you become involved.
Yeah.
And you call them on it, right?
Yeah, and actually it's all the above.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is the employer has the tendency to want to reach out to your doctor to find specific information about you.
Now we're into HIPAA now.
Yeah, and that's not allowed.
Yeah.
You can get a cursory understanding of what's going on,
Right.
but you don't get to have a conversation with my doctor.
Right.
You know, if my doctor provides a form that's legitimate, then you have to abide by that form. And if you want more information, you can ask for more information. But what ends up happening is the concern has always been employers reaching out to doctors and then employees and forging documents to get the FMLA. So those are the two conflicts.
Whoa.
And then the other one is the employer, you know, don't want to recognize intermittent, or they don't want to give you all your time. They want to cut some of it off, and sometimes they don't realize it starts over. You know, once you come back and your 12 weeks has ended, you know, after you've been back a year, you get a new 12 weeks.
So there are the most that you can recover from that is what? Just lost wages?
Oh, yeah.
There's no punitive involved where.
It could be.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
Depends on
what happens.
the employer's conduct.
Right, because
Yeah.
normally what ends up happening is employees normally lose their jobs.
Yes.
That's what only happens.
And so they're off for a significant period of time.
Yeah,
before-
until they get a new job.
Right.
But then you fall under the same laws
Yeah.
as the Title VII.
Okay.
You know, you have to mitigate your damages. You have to try to find another job. You know, and you have to be able to work.
Yeah, ready, willing, and able to
Yeah.
take employment. And then you just about have to take anything that comes along.
Nah.
Almost, don't you?
No.
It has to be something within your field.
Yeah, in your field. They can't make you go, you know, you left and you were a professor of technology and they
Right.
want you to be a janitor.
Right.
That's just not
That's
gonna
not
work.
required.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So, amount of time on FMLA.
That's probably
So-
correct.
But if you got any questions or concerns, look, call, ask. We'll do whatever we need to do to make sure you understand it. Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you back next week.
SVP, SVP TV, we're family for all your needs. SVP, SVP TV, we're family. We're gonna make you fall in love. SVP. We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP TV. SVP, SVP TV.
Looking for something new? We thought so. SVP is mixing things up, and digital TV, it'll never be the same.
SVP